Uranium this, uranium that. I didn't think we'd still be using something like uranium after all these years. But we are. Now I'm stuck on a frozen hellhole with no star to orbit because of it. And, oh, there are alien ice zombies here too. Welcome to Mining Outpost Frost 7, where dreams of glorious combat go to die. My name's Juan Garcia, and I'm starting to think being a third-generation Treffin Marine isn't all it's cracked up to be. Keep your helmet sealed, rookie. Sergeant Walsh's voice crackles through my comm as I step off the transport. The blast of cold hits me like a physical wall, even through my thermal suit. The landing pad is lit by massive floodlights that cast harsh shadows across the ice, making every ridge and crevice look like it's hiding one of them. The things, the zombies, whatever they are. Yes, Sergeant, I snap back, double-checking my seal. Back home on Treffia, they tell stories about Frost 7, but somehow they always leave out the part about how it feels like your eyeballs might freeze solid if you look into the wind too long. A veteran Marine trudges past us, his armor covered in a strange bluish ice that I've never seen before. He's got his helmet off despite the cold, taking deep breaths of the thin air. When he notices me staring, he gives me a grim smile. "You'll understand soon enough, kid." His face is weathered, with that 1,000-yard stare they all seem to get up here. The outpost rises before me like a metal mountain, its reinforced walls disappearing into the darkness above. Floodlights, defense turrets, and sensor arrays create a technological jungle across its surface. The constant drone of mining operations vibrates through my boots. Uranium extraction never stops, not even during attacks. "Move it, Garcia," Walsh barks. "You can admire the scenery when you're dead." I join the line of new arrivals hustling toward the main airlock. There are 12 of us, fresh faces, all Treffin Marines. Being the best means being sent to the worst places, or so my father always said. I wonder if he knew about this place when he pushed me to enlist. The airlock cycles and we're rushed through decontamination. That's when I hear it for the first time, a sound like ice cracking, but deeper, more rhythmic, almost like breathing. "So that's them," says a voice beside me. It's another rookie, Armstrong, trying to sound casual and failing. They're always out there, watching. "Cut the chatter," Walsh interrupts. "You'll have plenty of time to get acquainted with our local wildlife. Right now, you need to..." The alarm cuts him off. Not the usual shift change buzzer I'd been briefed about, but something more urgent. Red lights start flashing throughout the corridor. "Perimeter breach in Section 7, a voice announces over the general comm. "All combat personnel to defensive positions." Walsh's expression shifts from annoyed to predatory. "Well, looks like you'll get your introduction early. Welcome to Frost 7, Marines. Try not to die on your first day." "Sergeant," I start. "What exactly are we dealing with here? I mean, where did they come?" "First rule of Frost 7, rookie," Walsh cuts me off sharply. "Don't ask questions about them. They're here, we're here, and that's all you need to know. Been that way for 50 years, it'll be that way 50 more. As we double-time it toward the armory, I catch glimpses through the reinforced windows, shadows moving across the ice, too fast for their size. The floodlights catch something that might have once been human, its flesh a translucent blue, before it disappears again into the darkness. My grandfather used to say that being a Treffin Marine meant being ready for anything. Looking at those shapes in the darkness, I'm starting to think even he never imagined anything like this. The armory door hisses open, and Walsh starts barking orders for loadouts. Outside, that ice-cracking sound is getting louder, and now I can hear something else with it. A high, keening wail that makes my teeth hurt. I check my rifle's charge for the third time, an old Treffin habit. The weight feels good in my hands, familiar. But as I look around at the grim faces of the veterans gearing up alongside us, I can't shake one thought. I really didn't sign up for this. 3 weeks in and you still look like you're trying to solve a puzzle, Garcia, Corporal Rivera says, her breath freezing instantly in the thin air. She's got her helmet off again, like most of the veterans do during quiet moments. Something about needing to feel the battlefield, whatever that means. I'm on guard duty at Mining Platform C, watching the massive drills punch deeper into the planet's frozen core. The uranium readings here are off the charts, which means the attacks are usually worse. The zombies always seem more aggressive around the richest deposits. Eyes up, not down, Rivera reminds me, gesturing at the darkness beyond our floodlit perimeter. The ice won't tell you anything useful, but it'll get you killed trying to figure it out. She's right. I've caught myself staring at the strange patterns in the ice too often lately. The way it seems to pulse sometimes, like it's breathing, the weird blue veins that run through it near the mining sites. But asking questions about stuff like that is a good way to get stuck on latrine duty for a month. A grinding sound echoes from below as the drills hit a new deposit. The vibrations travel up through my boots, setting my teeth on edge. Almost immediately, the motion sensors start lighting up. Right on schedule, Rivera sighs, sealing her helmet. They always get pissy when we hit a new vein. Armstrong, Scotch. Get your asses in position. I check my rifle's charge out of habit as shadows start moving in the darkness. The floodlights catch glimpses of them, translucent blue flesh, distorted limbs that are too long and bend in the wrong directions, faces frozen in expressions that stopped being human a long time ago. Remember, Rivera says over the comm, short bursts, center mass. Don't waste ammo on headshots. They don't work like in the vids. And for fuck's sake, keep your helmets sealed this time. The first wave hits just as the shift change alarm sounds. Perfect timing as usual. The mining crews are vulnerable during the changeover and the zombies know it. They might not be smart, but they've learned patterns over the decades. I squeeze off a burst as 3 of them sprint across the ice toward us. The rounds punch through their frozen flesh, shattering it like glass, but they keep coming. They always keep coming. Contact left, Armstrong shouts. Big bastards. I swing my rifle left and feel my stomach drop. These ones are at least 8 feet tall, their bodies twisted and swollen by whatever turns humans and aliens alike into these things. They're using the smaller ones as cover, letting them soak up our fire. Focus on the runners, Rivera orders. Let the turrets handle the big ones. The automated defense turrets open up, their heavy rounds turning the larger zombies into clouds of frozen meat. But for every one we drop, 2 more emerge from the darkness. The mining crews are only halfway to the airlocks. Garcia, Armstrong, drop smoke on the left approach. Rivera's voice is steady despite the chaos. Scotch with me, we're clearing a path for the miners. Farther up the narrow trail, Garcia inhales. The smoke grenades pop with a sad little wheeze in the thin air, but the thermoreactive chemicals still do their job, creating a wall of purple haze. The zombies hate running blind, and the left flank attack falters. That's when I hear it, the sharp crack of a faceplate breaking. Armstrong's taken a hit, a glancing blow from one of the bigger ones, but it's enough. His helmet's integrity is compromised. Don't you dare, Rivera shouts. But Armstrong's already doing it, pulling his helmet off completely. The bitter cold hits him immediately, but he's grinning like a madman as he opens fire one-handed. I get it now, he yells over the general comp. I finally fucking get it. Get your helmet back on, you idiot. I try to reach him, but another wave of runners separates us. You can see them better this way. Armstrong's voice is becoming slurred as the cold affects him. They're beautiful in a way, like ice sculptures that the sound he makes next will haunt my dreams for months. One of the big ones bursts through the smoke screen, catching him mid-sentence. There's a crack that might be bones or might be the ice beneath him, and Armstrong disappears into the darkness beyond the floodlights. Rivera's cursing steadily in 3 languages as we fall back to the airlock. The mining crews are almost inside and the defense turrets are starting to overheat. We've held them off long enough. This time. Hours later, after the attack is over and the bodies have refrozen to the ground, I help the recovery team look for Armstrong. We find his rifle and parts of his armor, but nothing else. Rivera just shakes her head when I ask if we should keep searching. Rule 2 of Frost 7, she says, pulling off her helmet to light a cigarette in the thin air. Don't look for the ones they take. Just accept that sometimes people disappear into the dark. Been that way for 50 years, I'll be that way 50 more. I want to argue, want to demand that we keep looking, but I can already feel it happening. That subtle shift in my mind. The beginning of that 1,000-yard stare all the veterans have. Armstrong is gone, the miners are safe, and the drills are already running again. Just another day on Frost 7. 6 weeks in, and I've already learned to hate the graveyard shift. Not because it's dark. It's always dark on Frost 7, but because that's when they hit us hardest. Something about the way the temperature drops even lower during these hours drives them into a frenzy. Sector 4. Good. I see it, I respond, tracking the shadows with my rifle. After Armstrong, Scotch, and I got closer, nothing bonds people like watching a friend disappear into the darkness. 3 runners. 2 big ones behind them. Rivera's voice cuts in. All units hold position. Let them come to us. Save your ammo for... And the explosion cuts her off. A massive fireball erupts from mining platform E, the concussion wave knocking us all back. Alarms start screaming throughout the complex. Status report, Walsh barks over the command channel. What the hell just hit us? They've never done this before, Rivera says, her voice tight. Some kind of concentrated attack on the drilling equipment. Multiple breaches detected. Sir! Thompson from Platform E. Primary coolant lines are ruptured. We're looking at a cascade failure if we don't get those pumps back online. Walsh's response is immediate. Rivera, take your squad and secure those coolant pumps. Everyone else, defensive positions. They're not getting any deeper into this facility. Sir. Garcia, Scotch, you're with me, Rivera orders. We move out immediately, our boots crunching on the ever-present ice. The path to Platform E is already becoming obscured as steam from the ruptured coolant lines freezes in the bitter air. Contact front! Scotch opens fire as shapes emerge from the frozen mist. I see immediately these aren't the usual runners. They're bigger, more heavily mutated. Their translucent flesh has a deeper blue tint, and they move with an unsettling purpose. Focus fire, Rivera shouts. Don't let them flank us. We pour rounds into the creatures, but they keep advancing, using the frozen coolant vapor for cover. One of them gets close enough for me to see its face, or what's left of it. The thing might have been alien or human once, but now it's just a maze of ice crystals growing through translucent flesh. A massive shape suddenly looms over Scotch. He manages to get off 2 shots before it grabs him. Without thinking, I rip off my helmet. The veterans are right, you can see them better this way, and empty my magazine into the creature's center mass. It explodes in a shower of frozen gore, dropping Scotch. I'm good, he gasps, scrambling back to his feet. But, what the hell? They've never been this organized. Less talking, more shooting, Rivera snaps, but I can hear the concern in her voice. This isn't normal, even by Frost 7 standards. We fight our way to the coolant control station. Thompson is there with 2 engineers, desperately trying to bypass the damaged systems. The room is filling with frozen vapor, and even through our suits, the cold is becoming unbearable. How long? Rivera asks. 10 minutes, Thompson replies without looking up. Maybe less. If these pumps don't come back online, the whole drilling platform goes critical. Garcia, Scotch, guard that door. Nothing gets through. Rivera moves to help Thompson, her experience with the facility's systems coming in handy. The next few minutes are a blur of gunfire and frost. The creatures keep coming, wave after wave. My trigger finger goes numb, even through the thermal gloves. Scotch takes a hit that cracks his armor, but keeps fighting. We're running low on ammo when Rivera finally shouts, "Pumps are back online! Fall back to secondary positions!" That's when the ceiling comes down. A massive section of ice and metal collapses, and something drops into the room with us. It's easily 12 feet tall, its body a nightmare of ice crystals and frozen flesh. Before any of us can react, it grabs Thompson and one of the engineers, crushing them together with a sickening crunch. "Fall back," Rivera screams. "Fall back now." We retreat, firing as we go. The massive creature follows, shrugging off our rounds like they're nothing. The second engineer panics, tries to run past it, and disappears into its grip with a scream that cuts off too quickly. We make it back to the main facility, sealing blast doors behind us. The thing hammers on them for a few minutes, then goes quiet. When we finally catch our breath, Rivera does a quick head count. 3 of us left from a team of 6. "Command, this is Rivera," she says into her comm. "Platform E is secure, pumps are operational, but we lost Thompson and both engineers. Some new type of hostile, bigger than anything we've seen before." Walsh's response is grim. "Understood. Get your team to medical for checkup, then report for debriefing. We'll need to adjust our defensive strategies." Later in the medical bay, Scotch looks at me. "You took your helmet off back there, during the fight." I nod, wincing as the medic treats my frostbitten face. "Yeah. Couldn't see them properly through the visor. Needed a clear shot." "Now you're getting it," Rivera says from the next bed. She's got her own helmet off, nursing a cup of something hot. "Sometimes you need to feel the cold to fight it properly." Been that way for 50 years. Scotch and I finish with her. We'll be that way 50 more. She grins, but it doesn't reach her eyes. We all know we'll be back out there in 6 hours, watching the darkness for movement. The drills never stop, which means we can't stop either. Just another shift on Frost 7, where the night shift is all night, every night, forever. 3 months on Frost 7, and I've developed a routine. Wake up, gear check, breakfast of synthetic proteins, patrol briefing, 12 hours of watching the darkness, dinner of different synthetic proteins, sleep, repeat. The only variation is where and when the zombies attack and how many friends I lose. "Your turn for a helmet break," Scotch says, nudging me as we man our position on Platform B. He's already got his off, ice forming in his beard. "Been 4 hours since your last one." The veterans insist we take regular breaks from our helmets when things are quiet. They say it keeps you sharp, helps you remember what you're fighting for. Really, I think we all just got tired of seeing the world through filters and displays. I unlock my helmet seal with practiced moves, letting the brutal cold hit my face. The air is thin up here, but after 3 months my lungs have adapted. You can last about 15 minutes before the cold and lack of oxygen start affecting your judgment. The trick is knowing when to put the helmet back on. Contact Rivera calls casually over the comm. The usual suspects at the usual time. She's right, it's shift change at Platform B, and right on schedule they're coming. We've gotten good at predicting their attacks. They're drawn to mining activity like moths to a flame, especially during worker rotations. "Standard response," Walsh's voice crackles through the comm. "No heroes today, people." I seal my helmet back on and take position. The floodlights catch the first wave, regular runners, nothing like the big ones we saw at Platform E last month. Those haven't shown up since, which makes everyone nervous. On Frost 7, new things never just disappear. Remember when this used to be scary? Scotch asks as we open fire. Our shots are precise, economical. 3 months of constant combat have made us efficient, if nothing else. Still is, I reply, dropping 2 runners with a single burst. Just a different kind of scary now. The attack follows the usual pattern. They probe our defenses, lose a few dozen of their number to our automated turrets, then try to overwhelm a single section. Today they're focusing on the northeastern perimeter, probably because the wind is strongest there and messes with our targeting. Aye. Rivera, Walsh cuts in. Take your squad and reinforce Section 8. Looks like they're building up for something big. Rivera, we move out immediately. No acknowledgement needed. 3 months have taught us that hesitation gets you killed. The ice crunches under our boots as we navigate the maze of pipes and support structures that keep the mining platforms operational. That's when I see it, a new pattern in the ice. The veins of blue that usually run through it are pulsing faster than normal, almost like, Garcia? Rivera's sharp voice snaps me out of it. What's the first rule? I stop and turn to her. Don't ask questions, I respond automatically. Been that way 50 years. The explosion catches us mid-movement. Not as big as the Platform E incident, but enough to throw us off our feet. When I get up, spitting blood from where I bit my tongue, I realize we're cut off from the main facility. Status, Walsh demands over the comm. Squad intact, Rivera reports. But they've collapsed the support bridge. We're stranded on the northeastern platform. A screech cuts through the thin air, that horrible sound they make when they're about to charge en masse. Through the swirling ice particles, I can see hundreds of shapes moving toward us. Hold position, Walsh orders. Relief team is en route. Defense turrets are still operational in your sector. Scotch laughs, a sound with no humor in it. Just another day at the office, right? We set up a defensive perimeter, back to back. The platform is stable enough, but it's isolated now, a metal island in a sea of ice and darkness. The mining equipment below us continues its endless work, drilling deeper into the planet's core, oblivious to our situation. Save your ammo, Rivera advises as the horde approaches. Let them get close, make every shot count. I check my charge indicator, 73%. Should be enough, has to be enough. The first wave hits us like a frozen tsunami. The defense turrets chew through dozens of them, but more keep coming. We fire in controlled bursts, dropping them one after another, but they're getting closer. Anyone else miss basic training? Scott shouts over the sounds of combat. You know, when the worst thing we had to worry about was Sergeant Hayes and his obsession with clean boots? Less talking, Hafera orders, but I can hear the smile in her voice. More shooting. Hours pass like minutes in the chaos of battle. We lose the first defense turret when they manage to clog its barrel with their frozen bodies. The second goes down when its power cell finally gives out. The third is still firing, but is starting to make a worrying whining sound. My charge indicator reads 12% when we hear the beautiful sound of approaching engines. The relief team arrives in a heavily armored transport, cutting through the horde with mounted guns. Need a ride? The transport pilot's voice is thick with amusement. About time, Rivera responds. We were starting to think you'd stopped for coffee. The cleanup takes hours. The bodies of the fallen zombies are bulldozed into the darkness beyond the perimeter. They'll be frozen solid by morning. Just more obstacles in the endless ice field. Maintenance crews are already working on a replacement bridge because the mining never stops. Later in the mess hall, Walsh stops by our table. Good work out there. Platform B never stopped production, even with the bridge down. Corporate will be pleased. Rivera waits until he's gone before removing her helmet and lighting a cigarette. It's against regulations to smoke inside, but no one enforces that rule anymore, not after what we deal with outside. You know what the worst part is? Scotch asks, his helmet also off, despite the minor frostbite he'd suffered earlier. I'm actually getting used to this. All of it. The cold, the dark, the constant fighting. It's becoming normal. I look around the mess hall, at all the faces bearing that same 1,000-yard stare. Some of them have been here for years, decades even. They were here before me, they'll be here after me, holding the line against an enemy no one questions anymore. That's not the worst part, I say, removing my own helmet to feel the recycled air on my face. The worst part is that I'm starting to like it. Rivera just nods, exhaling smoke that freezes almost instantly in the artificially cold air of the facility. She doesn't need to say it. We all know the truth. This is our life now. This is Frost 7. Been this way 50 years. We'll be this way 50 more. Keep your helmet sealed, rookie. The words come automatically now, and I have to laugh at the irony of me being the one saying them. My helmet's off, of course. We've got 20 minutes until shift change, and the cold helps keep me alert. But sir, the new arrival protests, I saw you had yours. You'll earn your helmet breaks, Rivera cuts in. She's standing next to me on the observation platform, her own face exposed to the brutal cold. Until then, stay sealed, he says briskly, turning himself around to act as a guide to his companions. It's been 6 months since I arrived on Frost 7. The new batch of rookies looking up at us now remind me of myself, fresh-faced and full of questions. Most of them are Treffin Marines, like always. Our planet keeps sending its best to this frozen hell, and the ice keeps taking its share. Movement in Sector 3, Scotch reports from his position. His helmet's on. He lost his brake privileges for a week after getting sloppy during the last major attack. Looks like they're starting early today. They always get antsy when new meat arrives, Ribeiro observes, taking one last deep breath of the thin, freezing air before sealing her helmet. All right, rookies, time for your baptism. Remember your training and... The screen cuts her off. One of the new arrivals, some kid named Mitchell, just had his first real look at what we're fighting. A particularly large specimen had emerged into the floodlights, dragging something behind it, something that might have once been human. Focus up, I bark, falling easily into the veteran role. If you've got time to scream, you've got time to shoot. Standard formation, 5 meters spread. The rookies move into position, their training taking over despite their fear. I remember my first time seeing the ice zombies up close, how unreal they seemed. Now they're just part of the job, like equipment checks or shift rotations. Here they come, Rivera announces calmly. Regular runners first, big ones hanging back, same as it ever was. We open fire in practiced bursts. The veterans pick our shots carefully, conserving ammo, while the rookies spray and pray. They'll learn. The ones that survive always do. Sir? It's Mitchell again, his voice shaky but controlling it better now. Why do they look like that? What are they really? First rule of Frost 7, kid, Scotch replies before I can. Don't ask questions, been that way. 50 years. The rookies finish with him, having already heard the phrase dozens of times during orientation. We'll be that way 50 more. The battle falls into its familiar rhythm. The runners test our lines, looking for weak points. The larger ones hang back, waiting for an opening. Our defense turrets chew through the ones that get too close, their frozen bodies shattering like glass. Mitchell, Simeon, watch your left flank, Rivera shouts. Garcia, we've got climbers on platform D. I redirect my fire, catching 2 of the creatures as they scale the mining platform's support struts. They've gotten better at that lately, learning to use the facility's architecture against us. We adapt, they adapt. An eternal dance in the darkness. Gulad leak on platform C, Walsh's voice cuts through the comm chatter. Engineering team needs escort. On it, I respond. Scotch, you're with me. Rookies, stick with Rivera and keep the perimeter sealed. As we move through the facility, I catch glimpses of the new arrivals through the reinforced windows. Their movements are still stiff, uncertain. They haven't learned to read the ice yet, to feel the subtle vibrations through their boots that warn of approaching hostiles. "Remember when that was us?" Scotch asks, as we clear a path for the engineers. "Feels like another lifetime," I reply, dropping a runner that got too close. "Back when we still thought there'd be answers to all this." The engineering team works quickly while we provide cover. 6 months of constant attacks have made everyone efficient. You learn to do your job fast, or you don't survive to get better at it. "Garcia?" Rivera's voice crackles through the comm. "Lost 2 rookies up here. Mitchell and Simeon didn't watch their flanks like I told them." I absorbed the news with a dull acceptance that would have horrified my younger self. "Bodies!" "Negative. They went over the edge, into the dark." Into the dark, our euphemism for the ones we don't find, the ones the ice takes. Better than thinking about the alternatives. Hours later, after the attack is over and the mining operations are back to full capacity, I find myself in the mess hall with the surviving rookies. Their eyes are different now. The beginning of that 1,000-yard stare we all share. "Does it get easier?" one of them asks. Zhang, I think his name is. I remove my helmet, feeling the artificial cold of the facility. We keep it cold inside to minimize the shock when we go out. "No," I tell him honestly, "but you get better at it. The ones that survive always do." Rivera joins us, lighting one of her precious cigarettes. The smoke freezes in elaborate patterns before dissipating. "You know what the veterans told me my first week here?" she asks the rookies. "They said, don't try to understand Frost 7, just survive it." The rookies nod, processing this. 2 empty chairs at their tables speak volumes about the cost of today's lessons. "More thing," I add, seeing the questions still burning in their eyes. "Stop looking for answers in the ice. Stop wondering why they attack, what they want, where they came from. The only thing that matters is that we're here, they're here, and the uranium keeps flowing. Because that's the way it's been," Scott starts. "For 50 years, we all finish. Veterans and rookies together. We'll be that way 50 more." Outside our reinforced walls, the darkness holds its secrets. The ice shifts and cracks, and distant shapes move in the eternal night. Just another day on Frost 7, where questions freeze before they're asked, and survival is the only answer that matters. They hit us during dinner. That's a first. 7 months of the same patterns, the same predictable attacks during shift changes and reactor cycling, and then they do this. The mess hall alarm catches half of us with our helmets off, food freezing solid on our trays. "Multiple breach points," Walsh's voice cuts through the chaos. "They're coming through platforms A, C, and E simultaneously." "That's not possible," Rivera mutters as we sprint to the armory. "They've never coordinated like this before." But they have. The security feeds show it clearly. Massive waves of hostiles breaching our perimeter from 3 directions at once. The automated defense turrets are overwhelmed, freezing up from the sheer number of bodies they're trying to process. "L squads fall back to secondary defense positions," Walsh orders. "Engineering teams, initiate Protocol 7. We are not losing those reactors." Protocol 7, flooding the outer platforms with superheated coolant to clear the hostiles. It's a desperate move, one that'll take days to clean up and cost us millions in lost mining time. Corporate's going to be pissed. "Garcia, Scotch, take your rookies and hold Platform C," Rivera directs. "I'll handle A with Walsh. Zhang, you're with me." I look at the 4 rookies assigned to my squad. They've lasted 2 weeks, which is better than most. Their helmets are properly sealed now. They've learned that much at least. "Stay tight, watch your flanks, and don't try to be heroes," I tell them as we move out. "Scotch, you've got point." The corridor to Platform C is already showing signs of damage. The reinforced walls are buckled in places, and there's that familiar blue ice starting to form around the seams. The mining equipment groans beneath us, the endless drills still pulling uranium from the planet's core, despite the chaos above. Contact front! Scotch opens fire as shapes emerge from a ruptured coolant line. The steam freezes instantly in the thin air, creating a ghostly curtain that the creatures move through like shadows. Hold the line, I order, picking my shots carefully. Don't let them flank us. But something's different about them today. They're moving with purpose, almost like they're following a plan. A group of runners sacrifices themselves to draw our fire, while larger ones work on widening a breach in the wall. "Sir?" one of the rookies asks in warning. "Above us." I look up just in time to see them dropping from the ceiling maintenance hatches. They've never used those before, never shown this kind of tactical thinking. "Fall back to the security doors," I command, but it's too late. They're behind us now too. We're cut off. "Garcia, report status," Walsh demands over the comm. "Surrounded on Platform C," I respond, dropping 2 runners with my last burst. No clear path to the security doors. 4 rookies still alive. Scotch is wounded. Static answers me. The comms are down. "Listen up," I tell my squad as we form a defensive circle. "Conservation of ammo is no longer a priority. Make noise, draw attention. The more of them we keep occupied here, the better chance the other platforms have." Scotch props himself against a support pillar, clutching his side where one of them managed to tear through his armor. "Just like old times, eh?" "Shut up and shoot," I tell him, but we share a grim smile through our faceplates. If this is it, at least we're going out fighting. The rookies are holding their own, which makes me proud. 2 weeks of constant combat have turned them into decent soldiers. Parker especially shows promise, picking her shots carefully like a veteran. Ours blur together. We lose Mason first. He gets too close to a breach in the wall and something pulls him through before we can react. Turner goes down, protecting Scotch from a particularly large hostile. Armstrong, no relation to the one I lost my first month, runs out of ammo and switches to his combat knife, taking 3 of them with him before the cold gets him. "Garcia!" Parker shouts suddenly. "The mining equipment!" I follow her gesture and see what she means. The massive drills are still operating and the vibrations are causing structural weakness in the platform above the creatures. "Touch, you thinking what I'm thinking?" He laughs, which turns into a cough. "We're gonna have to pay for the repairs, aren't we?" "If we survive, I'll split the cost with you." We redirect our fire to the support struts right where the drills are causing the most stress. It's a crazy plan, but this whole situation is crazy. The platform collapses with a screech of tortured metal, taking a good portion of the horde with it. The sudden change in pressure causes emergency bulkheads to slam down, sealing us off from the worst of the breach. "Datas?" I call out. "Alive?" Scotch manages. "Still here," Parker responds. 2 out of 4 rookies, better than I expected given the circumstances. We wait in the confined space between bulkheads, listening to the sounds of combat elsewhere in the facility. Our armor's environmental systems can keep us alive for hours, but the cold is still seeping in through Scotch's damaged suit. "Don't suppose anyone brought dinner with them?" Scotch jokes weakly. "Next time we get attacked during a meal, I'll remember to grab takeout," I tell him. Parker removes her helmet, her first time doing it in combat. "If we're going to freeze to death anyway, I want to see it coming," she explains. Smart kid, she's learning. The rescue team finds us 6 hours later. By then, Scotch is hypothermic but stable, Parker has earned her unofficial veteran status, and I've added 3 more names to the mental list of those the ice has taken. "Quite a mess you made," Rivera says as they cut through the bulkhead. She looks exhausted but alive. "Corporate's going to take this out of your pay for the next decade." "Bill me," I respond. "How are the other platforms?" "We held," she says simply. Lost a lot of good people, but we held. The uranium keeps flowing. Later, after medical has patched us up and engineering has started repairs, Walsh calls us all together. They're learning, he says bluntly, adapting, getting smarter. So we adapt too. Double watches, new security protocols, enhanced motion tracking. But the mission doesn't change. Because it's been this way, Rivera starts. For 50 years, we all finish. We'll be this way 50 more. But as I look at the reduced numbers in the mess hall, at the empty chairs and missing faces, I wonder if we can last another 50 years. Then I remember the first rule of Frost 7, don't ask questions. The mining equipment rumbles beneath our feet, already back to full operation. The darkness outside our walls holds its secrets, and we hold our positions. Just another day in this frozen hell we call home. Thanks for watching this. Part 2 is out now. Click the video in the top left to watch it now.